coming up.
And as we take a look at the specs, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I want to let you know that I'm not being paid by Acer. I'm not being sponsored by Acer. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Acer is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this review unit is on loan from Acer, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. And I'm absolutely loving the pricing on this because you're getting this at $999 over at Amazon. For those interested, link will be in the description below. And to me, this is very competitive pricing considering you're getting that Ryzen 7 5800U processor paired with that RTX 3050 Ti GPU. Again, that's a steal. Link in the description below. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. Inside the box is a 90-watt power adapter. It's a barrel pin connector, but you could also charge this laptop with the USB-C port. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you also get the extension cord as well. And they give you a bunch of documentation, including some warranty information as well. And holding the unit for the first time, I gotta say, I'm liking this two-tone color. It's a gold-silver combination, pretty interesting, and I think it looks pretty nice. Now, at 3.06 pounds or 1.39 kilograms, this is definitely a very portable device, especially because it is packing some power under the hood. You don't normally see that in such a small chassis, and I'm liking it. Pretty nice, sturdy build quality as well is an added bonus here. Okay, let's check out the port selection. We're going to start off on the left side. We get your power port, a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port that's full service. That means you can do data, charge, and display out. You get an HDMI 2.0 port, and finally a USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 port. Moving over to the right side is your headphone microphone combo jack. You also get another USB-A port, and finally a Kensington lock port. Notably missing, there's no SD card reader. And since this is an AMD laptop, it doesn't have a Thunderbolt 4 port. But I would say overall, it's a pretty good port selection. Now, getting inside this laptop is pretty easy. What you need to do is remove the T5 Torx screws. There are 11 of them, and then take off the bottom panel with some kind of pry tool or a guitar pick. Be careful when you're going around the edges. You don't want to break any of the plastic clips. But once you do pry it off, you can remove the bottom panel and you're in. So let's take a look at what's upgradable. But before that, you'll notice that single fan. It's a pretty large fan, although it is only one. There is no dual fans on this, obviously. And you'll notice that it has a 4-cell 59 watt-hour battery. Battery life is very good on this laptop. We're going to talk more about that later, as well as the charging times. Now, as far as the SSDs are concerned, there are 2 SSD slots that you can upgrade yourself, but the included 512 gigabyte M.2 PCIe SSD performed very well, giving you some excellent reads and writes, as you can see from these results. Now, as far as the RAM is concerned, it is soldered into the motherboard. That means you cannot upgrade it yourself, so make sure you get enough RAM for your needs. This comes with either 8 or 16 gigabytes of LP DDR4X RAM. My review unit has 16 gigabytes of RAM, which I highly recommend. Now, this RAM is running in dual channel mode, meaning you'll get the better performance with this AMD chipset. Now, this has Wi-Fi 6 along with Bluetooth 5.2, and both are working very well. And as you can see, it's slotted in. That means it's not soldered into the motherboard. If you have to change out the Wi-Fi card later on, you have that option as the user, and that's always good. Okay, let's talk about the display. And what we have here is a full HD display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. It's an IPS display, a non-touch display with an anti-glare coating. It's a matte display on it, meaning you don't get any unnecessary glare or reflections that you normally would get with a glossy display. So that's good to see here. Now, it has some really deep black, some excellent contrast, very good white points, and it also has good color accuracy with a 1.69 Delta E score. Anything below 2 is considered good, so it's pretty color accurate. And it also covers the color gamut pretty well. 100% sRGB, 71% Adobe RGB, 71% of the DCI-P3 wide color gamut, and 66% NTSC, making this a good choice for content creators who do Lightroom, Photoshop, and of course, video editing. Now, a couple of things to note. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is optimized for viewing media. Watching Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube has been great on this. You don't get any black bars that you would get with a 16:10 or a 3:2 aspect ratio. Now, the downside to that is you don't see as much on the display when it comes to productivity as you would, say, a 16:10 aspect ratio, which is my preferred aspect ratio. If you watch my channel, you probably already know that. But not a deal breaker here, as this is a very good display. Certainly gets bright enough. It certainly has the color accuracy, and it does cover the color gamut well. And I do appreciate the fact that it has some pretty slim bezels, giving it a sleek and modern look. That's always great. Now, Acer claims that this laptop will get as bright as 300 nits. I actually measured more than that. I measured 342, and since this is a matte display, this is good for both indoor and outdoor use. You're not getting any unnecessary glare or reflections, and that's always great. So it's a nice, bright display with excellent viewing angles. So this is the camera on the Acer Swift X here for 2021. It's a 720p, 30 frames per second webcam. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality of the internal mics? I am curious to know. And as a side note, I'm really impressed with this Swift X, especially the price to performance ratio. You get a lot of bang for the buck. We'll talk more about that in this review. Now, one thing to note, there's no physical shutter switch on this camera to turn it off for more security and privacy. And another thing to note, it's not a Windows Hello camera. That means you cannot log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. There is a fingerprint scanner, however, located below the keyboard that allows you to log in with Windows Hello. It worked well, setup was easy, and registered my finger each and every time I used it. And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger, but keep in mind I have a slippery surface here, so not the easiest to do, but on most surfaces, you'll be able to open it with one finger. Now, once the lid is open, you're greeted by the keyboard, and I'm really liking this keyboard quite a bit. Good layout on it, and I like the fact that it has pretty good tactile feedback and good key travel, meaning this is a comfortable keyboard to type on for extended periods of time, which is always great, especially for productivity work. Now, it only has a one-stage backlight, but it works pretty well. It's pretty bright, but one thing to keep in mind, it's a white backlight against silver keys. Sometimes hard to differentiate or to see the contrast between the two in certain lighting conditions. And it's good to have a backlight, of course, because that allows you to get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. And it has a precision touchpad, a little bit undersized, but good nonetheless, very responsive. Two-finger scrolling is buttery smooth, and all the gestures work as you'd expect. Now, when it comes to the audio, there are two bottom-facing speakers, and I would say that it has pretty good volume, although I felt it could be a little bit louder, but I thought the sound overall was pretty good, pretty decent mids, a hint of bass, fills up a room, okay. Again, a little bit louder would have been better, but a decent job when it comes to the audio. Now, one of the best parts of this laptop is its excellent battery life. Now, this has a 59 watt-hour battery. It's a 4-cell battery, and it lasted 15 hours and 12 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits, which obviously will give you all-day battery life. Expect anywhere from 12 to 13 hours on real-world mixed usage, which is excellent. I'm glad to see that. Now, if you do need to plug in, the supplied 90-watt power adapter takes about 90 minutes to give you a full charge, and that's pretty fast. Now, when it comes to performance, that Ryzen 7 5800U paired with that RTX 3050 Ti produced some pretty good results, as you can see from these benchmarks here that I ran on this laptop, meaning this is a good general purpose laptop. It can do everyday use, Microsoft Office, email, web browsing. Everything was handled with a breeze. Everything handled very easily, not a problem. Now, you can do some video editing. You can do Photoshop on this, of course, and you can do some gaming if you get it on the right settings. Definitely get playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. It never gets overly hot as far as the surface temperatures are concerned, never reaching more than 45.2 degrees Celsius in the middle of the keyboard. So that's pretty good. Now, you will notice the fan kick in, but I didn't notice it overly loud. It was actually pretty quiet, allowing you to get work done without much distraction, and that's good as well. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Acer Swift X here for 2021? And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with this laptop, especially what they're able to pack here in a 14-inch laptop body. Really pretty good power considering the thin and light nature of this laptop. I like its sharp full HD display. I love its excellent battery life, which will give you all-day battery life and then some. The mostly all-metal build, the comfortable backlit keyboard, the very responsive touchpad, the dual SSD support is great. Very good performance, although it will throttle down under heavy load because of the thin and light nature of this laptop, as I mentioned. But it does have upgradable Wi-Fi as well. No PWM as far as screen flickering is concerned. The negatives here, no SD card reader, a so-so 720p webcam, and of course the RAM is soldered into the motherboard, not upgradable by the user. I'm going to give this a score of 91%, making the Acer Swift X here for 2021 definitely worth your money. So what do you think about this bad boy, the Acer Swift X, 14-inch laptop, RTX 3050 Ti, a pretty nice GPU in a thin, light package with a nice full HD display. It is 16 by 9. I kind of wish it was 16 to 10, but I'll take it in this small package. Really portable power is what you're getting here. Throw in pretty good battery life, which is actually really good battery life, seeing more than 15 hours on my continuous web surfing test. Real world usage, anywhere from 12, 13 hours. You can expect that, of course, depending on what you're doing with this laptop. Now, the build quality is mostly metal. It's a nice two-tone color. This is like a gold finish with a silver bottom, as you see here. Pretty nice build, very sturdy construction. Nice port selection as we looked at in this laptop. There are very few negatives on this. In fact, this is a pretty good laptop for the price. Now, Acer told me you can get this over at Amazon for $9.99. I'll leave a link in the description below, which I think is a steal with that RTX 3050 Ti. You can game on it. You can do video editing on it. You can do all sorts of things because this does pack a lot of power in a small chassis. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in that comment section below.